This is Miss Lee again, and this is our second video on coordinate graphing. Today we're going to be learning how to graph fractions and decimals on the coordinate plane. You definitely need your notes for this. If you don't have your notes, you're going to have to draw the number lines in your journal or on a sheet of paper. Okay, first thing we want to do is we want to plot the coordinates on the horizontal number line. And if you look at our coordinates, for point A, it's 1/2. Point B is -2 5/10, and point C is 3/2. That's an improper fraction. Looking at our number line, you'll see that they're being numbered by wholes, by 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the left we have the -1, -2, -3, and so on. And in between each whole number is a line halfway in between, so that represents halves. One of the important things to remember when you're graphing on coordinate planes is you need to see how your number lines, how the axis, the y-axis and the x-axis are being numbered. That's very important. In this case, each line represents a half, even though they're just listing the whole numbers. So if we wanted to plot point A, which is 1/2, we would plot it halfway between 0 and 1. So this would be your point A. For point B, -2 5/10, or -2 1/2, we would want to go to -2 and then halfway between -2 and -3. So this would be where your point B is at. And then looking at point C, 3/2, this is an improper fraction. So there's a couple of ways you can think about this. Since you know the lines are going by halves, you can start at 0 and move over 3/2. So this would be 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, or you could change this to a mixed number. This is really 1 1/2. So point C would be located right here on the number line. Okay, now we have a vertical number line. It's kind of like if you were to list maybe below sea level, depths below sea level or above sea level, or temperatures. And we're going to plot the following points. -1 1/2. Again, the number line, each tick mark represents a half, even though the numbers go by a whole. So -1 1/2 would be right here. You start at 0, you go down to -1, and then down a half. So this is -1 1/2. Point B is at 2 1/2, 2.5. So we start at 0, and if we're going to go with decimals, this one would be 0.5, 1 whole, 1.5, 2 wholes, and 2.5 would be located right here. So that's where we're going to place our B point. And then C is 7/2. So again, you could start at 0 and count 7 of the halves. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or you could change it back to a mixed number. 2 goes into 7 3 whole times with a remainder of 1/2, so 3 1/2. So there would be point C. So now that we know how to plot fractions and decimals on horizontal and vertical number lines, we're going to put it together to the coordinate graph. And we're going to plot the following points. Again, look at your graph. You'll see that our number lines are numbered the same as they were previously. Each tick mark represents a half, so this is a half, this would be 1 whole, this would be 1 1/2, 2 wholes, 2 1/2, and so on. Okay, the same thing going vertically. This would be a half, 1 whole, this one would be 1 1/2, 2 wholes, 2 1/2, and so on. So we wanted to plot the point 1/2, -1 1/2. You'll remember that the first number represents our x coordinate. So we're going to move over to 1/2, and then the second number is our y coordinate, -1 1/2. That means we need to go down. So this point would be located right here. This is point A. Now let's go ahead and do point B. -2.5, +2.5. So again, start at your origin and let's find -2.5 on the x-axis. So negative is to the left. Here's -2. We need to go halfway between -2 and -3. This is your -2.5. Our y coordinate is a positive 2.5. So this would be the location of point B. And point C has the two improper fractions. So if I were to change them both to mixed numbers, it would be 1.5, 3.5. And this would be located, point C, right here. And now you're ready to work on your classwork.